Now I can continue placing in some more cereal stone around the wood. I want it to look like the wood has grown down and over the rocks. These are some spiderwood branches and I'm going to use them to add some more detail to the scape. I'm placing these on the wood to look like vines and roots. Adding small things like these is an easy way to take the detail of the scape to the next level. Next, I'm going to add a few more stones around the base, with them getting gradually smaller the further away they are. A couple different sizes of gravel help bring even more detail to the sand. That's the hardscape done, and I'm really liking how it looks. Despite the small size of the scape, I'm really happy with the amount of detail that I've been able to add. At the moment, there's no nutrients in the substrate, so let's change that. I'm breaking a root tab down into smaller pieces and then pressing them down into the sand throughout the background. These are full of nutrients and will help promote healthy plant growth. After a light spray down, I'm going to build up the layer of sand in the back. At the moment it's just too shallow and the nutrients from the root tabs will likely leach into the water column. I'm placing in some stones to act as a retaining wall and stop the sand from gradually creeping forward over time. Now that's done, I'm going to give the tank a really good spray down until there's a nice puddle of water at the bottom. This plant is known as dwarf sweet flag. It's a fine grassy plant that's often used in ponds and shallow water setups just like this one. It naturally grows with its roots in shallow water, sending its leaves up and above the surface, so this setup really should be perfect for it. When planting, it's important to try and keep the rhizome above the substrate and only plant the roots down below. If the rhizome is deep into the substrate, it's highly likely to rot. These aren't looking in the best shape at the moment, but with some time they should put out plenty of new growth. Already the scape has sprung to life and is starting to look like a mini slice of nature. The next plants that I'm going to add are some Anubias and Bucephalandra. Their small leaves fit the scale of the scape really well and will add some nice interest around the wood. To plant them, I'm simply wedging them in gaps between the wood and stone. They'll pull their nutrients directly from the water column. The next plant to go in is this Crypt Parva. It's one of the smallest species of crypt and I think it's going to add some nice detail to the foreground. With the planting complete, I'm really loving how this nano pond is looking. I've kept the planting really simple to try and make maintenance as easy as possible. The last thing I want is to pack this small tank full of fast growing plants and have to trim and pull them out constantly. A small piece of tissue helps disperse the water and stops it from disrupting the sand or plants too much. Now that it's filled with water, it truly feels like a tiny slice of nature. Before leaving it to grow in, I'm going to get it in place on my desk and set the light up on a timer to be on for about 10 hours a day. It's been just over 6 weeks since I set up this mini pond and I'm glad to say that it's doing really well. Before I show you the amazing abundance of life that's appeared in the water, let's take a quick look at the plants. The immersed Anubias is doing really well and has sent out a new leaf, which is always a good sign that it's healthy. A week after setting up this ecosystem, I planted a small patch of moss on the wood and it's been growing nicely. As for the dwarf sweet flag, it's been doing okay, but it has been struggling slightly. The old growth seems to be struggling with the lack of humidity, but there's new growth coming through and it seems to be coping okay. The plants under the water are also nice and healthy despite the small amount of algae throughout. Despite me not adding any creatures myself, this ecosystem has developed and the water is now full of life. After looking closely, there's a small colony of these tiny snails happily eating the algae and going about their day. As for how they got in here, there must have been some eggs on some of the plants that I used. I've kept this type of snail many times before and they really are perfect for this kind of setup. This is about as big as they get and they don't eat healthy plants like some people think they do. Whilst filming the snails, I discovered that they're not the only creature that's emerged in here. There are hundreds and hundreds of these tiny microscopic creatures all throughout the ecosystem. These are tiny copepods, which are actually a type of plankton. They might look a little bit unusual, but they're actually a really good sign that the ecosystem is healthy and thriving. It's the small details like these that make creating these ecosystems so rewarding and fulfilling. Being able to sit at my desk and glance over at this small pond full of plants and tiny creatures is something that I'll truly never get bored of. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this build in the comments, and I really appreciate you making it all the way to the end of this video. In this video, I'm going to create a mini indoor pond for my desk. It's going to be packed full of plants and even a surprise colony of creatures that I certainly didn't expect. Now let's waste no time and get straight into the build. The size tank that I want to use is really quite unique and I can't find anyone that sells it, so I'm going to build it myself. The glass that I've got here is from frameless picture frames and the majority is cut-offs from previous projects. The first step is to take some measurements to work out the exact pieces and dimensions that I need to cut. Here's the list of pieces that I need to cut to build the tank. As for tools, here's what you'll need. A glass cutter, a ruler to cut and measure with, a marker pen and some safety glasses. To make things a bit easier, I've stuck some blue tack to the underside of the ruler, which stops it from sliding and results in much straighter cuts. After lining up the glass cutter, I'm firmly pressing it down and pulling it back in one smooth motion. The sound you're looking for is something that resembles paper being torn. With a line scored, it's time to snap the glass. There are loads of different ways of doing this, but one that I like is placing a long wooden skewer under the score line and then gently pressing down on both sides. The glass snaps with ease and you're left with a nice straight cut. It's really important to only score the glass once and not go over the same score line over and over. All this is going to do is blunten your glass cutter. You're going to make some mistakes, as do I, but after some practice you'll realise it's not too hard whatsoever. Now that I've got all the pieces cut out, I'm going to quickly assemble them together before sanding just to make sure they all fit. To do this, I'm just going to use some electrical tape. It goes without saying to be extremely careful because the edges of the glass are really quite sharp. I'm happy with how they all fit together, so I'm going to take them all apart and sand all the edges down.